My name is Primo Alui Joelianto. Julian because I was born in July. Alui is my grandfather's name, but Primo is very interesting. According to my father, Primo comes from Primo Carnera. I don't know whether you know Primo Carnera. The Italian boxer. He was very big and tall, you know. So apparently my father dreamed that I would become like Primo Carnera. Big and tall, that is. Unfortunately, it was not the case. So here I am. So it should be, you know, lower a little bit. As I told you, this is my third visit to Perth. But this is very special. Today is very special because first of all, I can visit Murdoch University. I love campus. You know, from the very beginning, you know, it was my dream to become a professor. When I was in the high school, you know, I really wanted to go abroad, not as a diplomat, as a student. Then when I go back to Indonesia, then I will become a professor. But unfortunately, you know, the story tells you differently. So here I am as a diplomat. Actually, maybe it's my destiny, so I have to accept it. Professor Gary Martin, Acting Vice Chancellor, Murdoch University. Professor David Hill, Chair of Southeast Asia Studies and Australian Learning and Teaching Council, National Teaching Fellow. Pak Dede Sharif Samsuri, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia in Perth. Pak Sugiono, representing the Head Language Development Agency, Indonesian Ministry of National Education. Mr. Bill Johnston, or Pak Bill Johnston, since you speak very well Bahasa, member of Kennington. Ms. Sylvan Lenihan, Head of Programs, Australian Learning and Teaching Council. Distinguished visitors from Indonesia, Japan, Germany, and from around Australia, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to attend this national colloquium on the future of Indonesia and Australian University. I thank you, Professor Hill, for inviting me to attend, and I would like to thank our generous host, Murdoch University, for bringing us all together for this national colloquium. As you are well aware, we are here to exchange ideas and to implement policies to strengthen the teaching of Bahasa Indonesia in Australia, in Australian universities. We are also gathered here to develop a national strategy to arrest the decline in enrollments in Indonesian and to promote increased enrollments. We all know that something must be done. If we do nothing to promote the studies of Indonesian, the steady decline in enrollments will continue. The decline in student numbers is not just confined to Indonesian, as we know that less than 3% of Australian tertiary students now study Asia-related subjects. We are faced with the fact that 99% of Australian students who study Indonesian discontinue studying the language before year 12 level, and we face the possibility of Indonesian at year 12 being extinct by 2020. With no students at year 12 level, where will we find our Bahasa Indonesia tertiary students? What can we do about this situation? The Indonesian Embassy has come positive ideas to address this position. But firstly, I would like to discuss some general strategies for promoting Indonesian at secondary level, which of course will fit into increased enrollments at tertiary level. The Australian government's National Asian Languages Studies in School program, or ALTC, has allocated 62.4 million to increase study of 4 Asian languages, including Indonesian. This is a very welcome initiative, and hopefully we will see increased number of secondary school students and more of these students continuing to study Indonesian at universities level. We hope that the National Asian Languages Studies in Schools program can continue to run, and that perhaps the funding could even be increased. Unfortunately, the Australian government travel ban has had a negative impact on Indonesian studies. we need to put pressure on the Australian government to lift the student travel bans to Indonesia, so that Australian school students can see and experience Indonesia for themselves. You know that from time to time I try to convince officials in DFAT that they should consider the travel ban. Of course, we understand fully that the government should protect the citizen. We totally understand that. But something that's very difficult for us to understand is that they put Indonesia at the same level as Pakistan. So it's not, you know. So at least if they cannot lift the ban at once, at least they reduce the level. Because we are not like Pakistan. But anyway, from time to time when I speak to officials from the Fed, I try to convince them. Hopefully that they will, you know, convince. We'll see. We need to convince the general government that Australia needs to reinvest in Asian studies with at least 100 million a year in funding to match the old national Asian languages and studies in Australian schools. We need to involve the Australian media in positive reporting of events in Indonesia to help mitigate the fear and misunderstanding that emanates from negative reporting on Indonesia. We also need to encourage Australian education authorities to not just concentrate on funding Indonesian language studies, but also to fund the study of Indonesian history, politics, and culture to assist in the knowledge of Indonesia and in combating misconceptions about Indonesia. So this is something, that was the message when we held the Australia Indonesia Conference in Sydney in March 2009 to combat, to erase the misconceptions about Indonesia or even about each other. The Indonesian Embassy in Canberra has some positive ideas to add to those I have just mentioned. We have introduced a very successful pilot program of placing Indonesian teaching assistants in Canberra schools teaching Indonesian. Students can meet and relate to a real Indonesian in their classroom, and this breaks down so many barriers with the people-to-people contact. The Indonesian government and the ACT Department of Education and Training jointly fund this program. We hope to extend this program beyond the ACT to other states and territories. Each year, the embassy has about 7,000 Australian students and their teachers visit the embassy to experience Indonesian culture and our Balai Budaya, where students experience a 1-hour interactive tour of Indonesian history, geography, and culture. We also offer practical workshops in such as activities as Indonesian dance and Indonesian martial arts. In conjunction with the Canberra Zoo, we also offer a full-day program entitled A Day in Indonesia with Indonesia-related activities at both the zoo and the embassy, and the chance to enjoy and experience Indonesian food. We are one of the few embassies in Canberra to invite Australian students to visit, and we have the most extensive school tours program of any embassy in Canberra. Our consulates in states also offer cultural programs. Our school program also involves sending our embassy's talented Balinese dancers to Canberra schools for dance performances and Indonesian dance workshops. We also provide an Indonesian dance program for Canberra's annual Multicultural Festival and the annual Florian program. Both these events see many tourists visit Indonesia, and our programs give them the opportunity to experience Indonesian culture. We have established a Balai Bahasa Indonesia here in Perth, which already has successful and well-attended Indonesian language and cultural programs. We hope that Balai Bahasa in Perth will play a vital part in the resurgence in learning Indonesian and in learning about Indonesian culture. We also plan to establish the Balai Bahasa Indonesia in Melbourne, and we have taken steps to establish one in Canberra. While there are some depressing realities to face with the decline in Indonesian studies in Australia, we are sure that the current and the future Australian governments will realize that to not substantially fund and encourage Indonesian studies in Australia will compromise the security and prosperity of the next generation of Australians. It's up to us to point out these realities and to work hard to improve the situation. That is why we are all here at this national colloquium on the future of Indonesian and Australian universities. I look forward to listening to the ideas of others and for us to agree on some definite strategies for the promotion of Indonesian language and culture in Australia. Be assured that the Indonesian Embassy and the Indonesian government will offer you every assistance possible in implementing your ideas. I thank you and wish you all well in your endeavors.